In this gentle and reflective space, let us pause together and breathe deeply. As we gather here, we carry many burdens on our shoulders, worries about the future, memories of the past, and fears that quietly shape our days and nights. Fear is like a shadow that follows us, even in our brightest moments, whispering doubts and uncertainties into our hearts. But in the luminous wisdom of the Buddha, we find a different path, one that invites us to see beyond our fears and discover a gentle courage within. Buddhism teaches us that fear is not a fixed wall but a passing cloud, a creation of the mind that can be observed and understood. The ancient teachings offer us practical ways to look at fear with compassion, to dissolve it through insight, and to cultivate a life rooted in mindfulness and deep inner peace. In today's video, we will journey through 6 powerful Buddhist lessons that can help you stop your fears and transform your life from within. We will explore the wisdom of impermanence, the nature of fear as an illusion, the practice of mindfulness, the understanding of suffering, the art of letting go, and the cultivation of patience. Each lesson offers a light to guide us through the darkness, helping us awaken a quiet strength and a serene joy in our hearts. Whether you are facing loneliness, aging with grace, or seeking spiritual growth and emotional clarity, these timeless teachings will gently support you. So, I invite you to sit comfortably, listen with an open heart, and allow these ancient words to flow through you like a calm river. Let us walk this path together, step by step, toward the freedom that awaits within each of us. Let us begin with the first powerful Buddhist lesson: embrace impermanence, anicca, a teaching that invites us to understand that everything, including fear, is temporary and always changing, like the passing of seasons or the gentle drifting of clouds across an open sky. This lesson is not just a philosophical idea but a living truth that can transform the way we experience our deepest fears and anxieties, helping us see them not as permanent prisons but as fleeting visitors that come and go. Imagine for a moment the story of a woman named Susan from Oregon, a mother of 2 who, in her mid-40s, faced the painful uncertainty of losing her job during an unexpected company downsizing. She felt fear gripping her chest like an icy hand, whispering that she would not find another job, that she would fail her family, that her life as she knew it was crumbling before her eyes. Every morning she woke up with tightness in her throat, staring at the ceiling and wondering what the future might hold. The days stretched endlessly, filled with haunting doubts and restless nights. One day, while walking through a nearby forest to clear her mind, Susan noticed the golden autumn leaves gently falling to the earth, each leaf unique, each one surrendering without resistance. In that simple moment, she felt something shift inside her. She realized that just like those leaves, her fear too would eventually fall away, that nothing in this world stays the same forever. She began reading about Buddhist teachings on impermanence, learning that anicca is a natural law that governs everything from the blooming of flowers to the rise and fall of our emotions. She practiced sitting quietly each morning, focusing on her breath, observing her thoughts like passing clouds without trying to hold or push them away. As weeks turned into months, Susan found a new path opening before her. She discovered a passion for community gardening, helping her neighbors grow food and reconnect with the earth, and eventually found a new job that aligned with her deeper values. Today, she shares that losing her job, which once felt like an unbearable disaster, became a doorway to a more meaningful and joyful life. Susan's story beautifully illustrates the teaching of impermanence, reminding us that every fear, every painful moment, is like a wave that rises and inevitably falls back into the ocean. When we truly understand anicca, we stop clinging so tightly to our worries and expectations, and instead learn to move with the natural rhythms of life, embracing change as an inevitable and even beautiful part of our journey. The Buddha said, "All conditioned things are impermanent." When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering, pointing us to the liberating truth that by seeing the temporary nature of all things, including our fears, we free ourselves from the chains that bind our hearts. Rather than being paralyzed by fear of loss, we begin to appreciate the preciousness of each moment, knowing it will not last forever. The laughter of a friend, the warmth of the morning sun, the taste of a simple meal, all become sacred gifts when seen through the lens of impermanence. We realize that our fear is often a resistance to this flow of change, a desperate attempt to hold onto what is inevitably slipping through our fingers. But as we loosen our grip, we discover a new sense of lightness and freedom. Impermanence teaches us to live deeply and fully in each moment, rather than postponing our peace to some distant future that may never arrive. It encourages us to forgive more easily, to let go of old grudges, and to open our hearts to new possibilities. When we recognize that even our most intense fears are impermanent, they lose their power over us. They become like shadows that cannot harm us, passing across a sunlit field. We learn to trust that no state of mind, no feeling, no situation is fixed or eternal, and this insight gives us immense courage to face life's uncertainties. As we continue to meditate on anicca, we see that everything is in constant motion: our thoughts, our bodies, our relationships, and even the seasons of our lives. This flowing nature of existence is not something to fear but something to celebrate, for it means that we are alive, part of a vast and ever-changing dance. By embracing impermanence, we become like a river that flows freely around obstacles, rather than getting stuck and stagnant. We learn to bend without breaking, to adapt without losing our true nature, and to find beauty even in moments of loss or transition. The gentle wisdom of anicca invites us to cultivate a heart that is open and spacious, ready to welcome each experience without clinging or aversion. It helps us understand that everything we cherish is more precious precisely because it is impermanent, like the fleeting bloom of a cherry blossom that captures our breath with its fragile beauty. In this way, embracing impermanence is not about resignation or despair but about awakening to the fragile, shimmering miracle of life. When we truly accept that all things, including fear, are transient, we gain the freedom to live more fearlessly, more compassionately, and more joyfully, carrying within us the serene confidence that whatever arises, it too shall pass. Moving into the second powerful Buddhist lesson, let us explore See the Illusion of Fear, a profound teaching that invites us to recognize that fear is often a mental construct and not a reflection of reality. This insight helps us transform our lives from within and find peace beyond the shadows of our imagination. Fear is like a phantom that appears real in the dark but disappears in the light of awareness. So many of us live our lives haunted by fears that exist only in our minds, preventing us from experiencing the freedom and joy that are our true nature. When we look deeply, we see that fear is not a solid enemy but a shifting collection of thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations that come and go like waves in the ocean. The Buddha taught that the mind has the tendency to create illusions, weaving stories that are often far from reality. Fear is one of its most convincing creations, built from memories of past pain and projections of future suffering. It convinces us that we are in danger when, in fact, we are safe in this moment. It tells us we are not good enough, that we will fail, or that we will be rejected, when in truth, these are just mental formations without substance. By learning to see fear as an illusion, we begin to weaken its hold over us and reclaim our inner freedom. We start by observing fear with gentle curiosity, noticing how it arises and how it fades, without trying to push it away or cling to it. When fear arises, instead of reacting automatically, we can pause, breathe, and ask ourselves, is this fear true? What evidence do I have right now? This simple inquiry can reveal the emptiness at the heart of our fears, showing us that they are like mirages on a hot road, appearing solid but disappearing as we approach them with awareness. As we continue this practice, we realize that we are not our fear. We are the spacious awareness that sees fear arise and pass, like a vast sky watching clouds drift by without being affected. In this space, we find deep peace and unshakable strength, no longer controlled by mental shadows. This understanding does not mean we ignore real dangers. Rather, we learn to distinguish between genuine threats and imagined fears, responding to life with wisdom instead of blind reactivity. The Buddha compared the mind to a monkey, constantly jumping from one branch to another, restless and easily frightened. Through mindfulness and insight, we calm this monkey mind, bringing it back to the present where true safety and clarity reside. Fear loses its grip when we stop feeding it with our attention and belief. Instead, we see it as a temporary visitor that does not define who we are. Each time we turn toward fear with compassion rather than resistance, it transforms, becoming a doorway to greater understanding and spiritual growth. We learn to embrace the present moment fully, trusting that we have the capacity to meet whatever arises with calm and courage. As we see the illusion of fear more clearly, our hearts open, and we begin to taste a profound freedom that is beyond circumstances, beyond praise or blame, beyond gain or loss. We discover that the peace we seek has always been within us, hidden behind the veil of imagined dangers. This insight empowers us to live more authentically, to follow our true path without hesitation, and to love without the armor of self-protection. By seeing through the illusion of fear, we awaken to our true nature, which is vast, luminous, and untouched by passing storms. We become like a lotus flower, rising above the muddy waters, blooming in pure radiance regardless of the conditions below. In this awakening, we find the courage to be present with life as it is, to greet each moment with openness and grace, and to walk the path of inner peace with confidence and serenity. Now, let us move to the third essential Buddhist lesson: cultivate mindfulness, sati, an ancient practice that encourages us to stay present and grounded in the moment rather than getting lost in anxious thoughts, guiding us gently back to the only place where true peace and freedom can be found, this very moment. Mindfulness is like a gentle lamp that illuminates the path before us, revealing the beauty and depth hidden beneath our restless minds. So often, we are pulled away from the present, our thoughts jumping between regrets of the past and worries about the future, creating endless cycles of anxiety and dissatisfaction. But when we cultivate mindfulness, we return to the simplicity and richness of each breath, each step, each sound, finding in them a quiet joy and deep stillness that no external achievement can provide. Imagine for a moment a Tibetan monk named Tenzin, who grew up in a small mountain monastery near Lhasa, surrounded by snow-capped peaks and vast open skies. As a young novice, Tenzin struggled with deep feelings of anxiety and unworthiness, often worrying about whether he would ever embody the teachings fully or if he would disappoint his teachers and his family. Each morning, he would sit in the cold meditation hall, shivering not only from the icy air but from the fearful thoughts that filled his mind like a swarm of bees. One winter, an elder monk noticed Tenzin's struggle and invited him to practice walking meditation outside in the deep snow. At first, Tenzin resisted, feeling that it was pointless and that he should be striving harder to fight his thoughts. But the elder monk simply smiled and said, "Walk slowly, feel each step, notice the crunch of the snow beneath your feet, the cold air on your face, and the warmth in your chest as you breathe." Reluctantly, Tenzin followed the instructions, taking one slow step at a time, feeling the cold, hearing the birds, and watching his breath cloud in the frosty air. Over days and weeks, something miraculous began to happen. His anxious thoughts started to dissolve, like snow melting under the morning sun, and he began to experience a deep sense of connection to the earth, to the sky, and to his own heart. Tenzin realized that mindfulness was not about forcing the mind to be silent or chasing away thoughts but about being fully present with whatever arises, holding it gently without judgment. This simple yet profound practice transformed Tenzin's life, allowing him to move through each day with a sense of inner spaciousness and calm that he had never known before. Today, he shares this teaching with monks and lay people alike, reminding them that true peace is not found in controlling every thought but in embracing each moment as it is. Tenzin's story beautifully captures the essence of sati, showing us that mindfulness is not reserved for monastics or distant sages but is a living practice available to each of us, here and now. When we cultivate mindfulness, we begin to see clearly the nature of our thoughts and emotions, understanding that they are like clouds drifting across a vast sky, impermanent, changing, and unable to define who we truly are. We learn to observe without clinging or pushing away, creating a space of inner freedom where we can rest deeply. Mindfulness invites us to return again and again to our breath, to the sensations in our bodies, to the simple acts of daily life like washing dishes, drinking tea, or listening to a loved one's voice. In this returning, we find a sanctuary untouched by external chaos, a refuge of peace and clarity that strengthens with each moment of practice. The Buddha called mindfulness the direct path to liberation, emphasizing that through mindful awareness, we dissolve the illusions that bind us and discover the luminous nature of our own mind. Rather than being swept away by anxious stories about the future or painful memories of the past, we learn to anchor ourselves in the here and now, where life is truly happening. Each mindful breath is like planting a seed of peace within the heart, a seed that blossoms into compassion, wisdom, and unshakable joy. As we continue to practice, we begin to live with greater intentionality and depth, savoring the small miracles that fill our days, the warmth of sunlight on our skin, the sound of rain against the window, the gentle rhythm of our heartbeat. We discover that in this presence lies the key to true happiness and spiritual growth, far beyond the fleeting pleasures and fears that come and go. Mindfulness empowers us to respond to life with grace and wisdom rather than react from habit and fear, allowing us to navigate challenges with a steady and open heart. It teaches us to embrace life fully, to meet each experience with curiosity and kindness, and to walk each step with awareness and gratitude. In this way, cultivating mindfulness becomes a profound act of love for ourselves, for others, and for the mysterious unfolding of life itself. As we continue to return to this practice, moment by moment, we awaken to the radiant peace that has always been within us, waiting patiently beneath the surface of our restless minds. Next, let us turn to the fourth powerful Buddhist lesson: understand the nature of suffering, dukkha, an essential insight that invites us to accept that suffering is an inescapable part of life and teaches us how to navigate it with resilience, wisdom, and compassion. Rather than denying or avoiding suffering, Buddhism encourages us to look directly at it, to understand its causes and its nature deeply, because only through understanding can we find true freedom and peace of mind. Suffering arises in countless forms, from the obvious pains of illness, loss, and aging to the subtle dissatisfaction and restlessness that can haunt even our most comfortable moments. The Buddha identified suffering as a universal experience, explaining that clinging to what is pleasant and resisting what is unpleasant create a cycle of discomfort and longing that binds us to continuous dissatisfaction. When we understand dukkha, we realize that suffering is not a punishment or a personal failure but a natural part of human existence that connects us to all living beings. This understanding can be incredibly liberating because it helps us stop blaming ourselves or others for the inevitable pains of life and opens the door to greater compassion and patience. The Buddha described suffering as a wound that we continually poke and prod by resisting reality, creating even more pain in the process. When we accept suffering as it is, we stop adding the second arrow of mental anguish to the first arrow of physical or emotional pain, a metaphor that illustrates how our reactions often intensify our suffering more than the actual experience itself. Through this awareness, we begin to see suffering not as something to fear or escape from but as a teacher that can guide us toward deeper understanding and spiritual growth. Each painful experience offers an opportunity to practice letting go, to cultivate patience, and to develop a heart that is open and resilient. Rather than shrinking from hardship, we learn to meet it with gentle curiosity, asking ourselves what wisdom it has to offer. In this willingness to stay present, we discover an inner strength that is unshakable. Suffering also reminds us of the preciousness and fragility of life, encouraging us to cherish the joyful moments more deeply and to live with greater gratitude and awareness. When we stop trying to control or fix every uncomfortable feeling, we find a freedom that transcends circumstances, allowing us to experience a peace that is not dependent on external conditions. This approach does not mean we become passive or indifferent but rather that we respond to life's challenges with a balanced mind and a compassionate heart, accepting what we cannot change while taking wise action where we can. The Buddha taught that by understanding the nature of suffering, we begin to unravel the roots of our fear and anxiety, freeing ourselves from the endless cycle of craving and aversion that keeps us trapped. We come to see that suffering is not our enemy but a profound part of the human journey, a mirror that reflects our deepest attachments and invites us to release them. Through this process, we cultivate a mind that is spacious and flexible, able to hold joy and sorrow with equal grace. We learn to ride the waves of life rather than be drowned by them, trusting that each wave, no matter how turbulent, will eventually pass. As we deepen our understanding of dukkha, we discover that true happiness does not come from avoiding pain but from developing the wisdom and resilience to face it directly, with courage and compassion. In this way, we transform suffering from a source of despair into a path of awakening, leading us to greater inner peace, spiritual growth, and a heart that can embrace all of life's experiences with equanimity and love. Now we arrive at the fifth transformative Buddhist lesson: let go of attachment, tanha, a profound invitation to release the attachments to outcomes, expectations, and fears that silently hold us back and keep us bound in cycles of suffering. In Buddhist teachings, attachment, or tanha, is understood as a powerful craving that arises from our deep-seated desire for things to be a certain way, whether that means holding on to pleasurable experiences, clinging to people or relationships, or desperately trying to control the future. These attachments can be subtle or obvious, but they all share one thing in common: they create a sense of tension, anxiety, and fear within us, preventing us from experiencing true peace and freedom. The Buddha described attachment as the root of suffering, comparing it to grasping a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else but only burning ourselves in the process. When we cling to expectations and specific outcomes, we set ourselves up for disappointment and endless restlessness because life, by its very nature, is unpredictable and ever-changing. By learning to let go, we open ourselves to the fluidity and mystery of existence, trusting in the natural unfolding of events without the need to force or control. This does not mean we stop caring or become indifferent, but rather that we learn to engage fully in life with an open heart, free from the chains of rigid expectations. It means loving without trying to possess, working with dedication without being attached to success or failure, and embracing each moment as it comes without wishing it to be different. As we release our tight grip on life, we discover a spaciousness within that allows us to breathe more freely and love more deeply, without fear of loss or change. We begin to see that true happiness arises not from getting everything we want but from appreciating what is here right now, in its impermanent and imperfect beauty. Letting go of attachment invites us into a state of surrender that is not weakness but profound inner strength, a willingness to trust the flow of life and rest in the present moment. The Buddha taught that by letting go, we free ourselves from the cycle of craving and aversion, stepping onto the path of liberation where our hearts can rest in peace regardless of external circumstances. This practice calls us to examine our subtle tendencies to cling, whether it is to material possessions, self-images, opinions, or even spiritual goals, and to gently release these habits with compassion and patience. Each time we loosen our hold, we create space for new possibilities and deeper joy, allowing life to surprise and nourish us in unexpected ways. We become like a tree that bends with the wind, resilient and graceful, rather than rigid and easily broken. By embracing non-attachment, we cultivate a heart that is vast and open, capable of holding the joys and sorrows of life without being overwhelmed or defined by them. We learn to meet change with equanimity and to see impermanence not as a threat but as a beautiful truth that enriches each moment. In this letting go, we also dissolve many of the fears that arise from trying to control the uncontrollable, discovering a freedom that cannot be shaken by gain or loss, praise or blame. We start to experience a quiet confidence that arises from within, independent of external validation or circumstances. As we continue this practice, we may notice a gentle joy blooming in our daily lives, a lightness of being that allows us to move through the world with greater ease and kindness. By letting go of attachment, we step into a deeper intimacy with life itself, awakening to a sense of connection and wonder that transcends our habitual patterns of clinging and fear. In this awakening, we find the true essence of spiritual growth and inner peace. Finally, we come to the sixth and last powerful Buddhist lesson: cultivate patience, khanti, a gentle but transformative teaching that invites us to learn to face challenges with patience and compassion, trusting deeply that growth, healing, and understanding all take time. In our fast-paced world, we often expect immediate results, whether in our personal goals, relationships, or even spiritual practice, but the truth is that real transformation unfolds slowly, like a flower opening its petals one by one to the morning sun. Cultivating patience allows us to remain steady and kind with ourselves and others, even when progress seems invisible or painfully slow. Patience is not simply waiting but waiting with an open heart and a peaceful mind, a state of acceptance and gentle perseverance that empowers us to navigate life's storms with resilience and grace. Imagine for a moment the story of Mark, a high school music teacher from Vermont, who always dreamed of starting a community orchestra to bring people together through the joy of music. When Mark first launched his project, he imagined dozens of eager musicians showing up right away, ready to share their love of music. But the reality was far different. Only 3 people attended the first rehearsal, and 2 of them struggled even to keep time. Mark felt embarrassed and disheartened, his mind flooded with doubts and critical voices telling him to give up. However, remembering the mindfulness and patience practices he had learned during a meditation retreat in Massachusetts years before, Mark decided not to abandon his dream. Instead, he focused on nurturing those first few members with patience and kindness, helping them build their confidence one note at a time. Over time, more people joined, inspired by Mark's unwavering dedication and gentle encouragement, and gradually, the small group blossomed into a full orchestra that now fills the local concert hall every season with beautiful, heartfelt performances. Today, Mark reflects that the slow, often frustrating journey taught him more about patience and compassion than any quick success ever could. His story reminds us that true growth cannot be rushed and that patience is the fertile ground in which all meaningful change takes root. Through cultivating Kanti, we learn to hold space for our struggles and setbacks without harsh judgment, to breathe through discomfort, and to keep going with gentle determination. Patience teaches us to trust the natural rhythms of life, to honor each stage of our journey rather than forcing ourselves into premature conclusions. It encourages us to meet ourselves and others with compassion, recognizing that everyone is growing and unfolding at their own pace. The Buddha described patience as the greatest ascetic practice, emphasizing that it is not passive resignation but a powerful, active acceptance that transforms our hearts and minds. As we practice patience, we gradually loosen the tight grip of frustration and anxiety, discovering a spaciousness within that allows for true healing and insight to arise. We learn to listen deeply, to respond rather than react, and to cultivate a quiet strength that sustains us even in the most challenging moments. Patience invites us to see the small, often invisible steps of progress that accumulate over time, like drops of water slowly filling a vast vessel. It helps us stay rooted in the present moment, appreciating each breath, each effort, each tiny victory along the way. As we deepen this practice, we begin to experience a profound peace that is not dependent on external achievements or timelines but flows naturally from a heart that trusts in the process of becoming. Patience also deepens our relationships, allowing us to offer genuine support and understanding to others without demanding immediate change or perfection. It transforms our perspective on failure and struggle, revealing them as essential parts of growth rather than obstacles to be avoided. In this way, patience becomes a radiant expression of love for ourselves, for others, and for the mysterious unfolding of life itself. When we embrace patience, we step into a timeless space where true transformation can blossom, a space where we can rest and breathe even in the midst of uncertainty. We discover that the path of spiritual growth is not a race to be won but a journey to be savored, each moment an opportunity to deepen our understanding and soften our hearts. Through Kanti, we come to see that every challenge, every delay, every setback is an invitation to grow stronger, wiser, and more compassionate, guiding us gently toward the lasting peace and freedom we seek. As we gently come to the end of this shared journey together, let us take a deep breath and reflect on the precious wisdom we have explored today, knowing that each of these 6 powerful Buddhist lessons can illuminate our lives with calmness, resilience, and inner peace if we open our hearts and practice them with sincerity. Understanding impermanence teaches us to let go gracefully, seeing the beauty in change, while recognizing the illusion of fear helps us free ourselves from mental prisons we unknowingly create. Cultivating mindfulness anchors us in the present moment, and understanding suffering allows us to walk through life's inevitable storms with courage and compassion. Learning to release attachment brings us freedom, and practicing patience strengthens our spirit like the roots of an ancient tree standing firm through all seasons. To truly integrate these teachings, it is helpful to establish a daily meditation practice that focuses on transforming fear into calm awareness, and I would like to share a simple yet profound method you can try at home. Begin by finding a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. sit comfortably with your back straight but relaxed. Gently close your eyes and bring your attention to your natural breathing, noticing the rise and fall of each breath without trying to control it. As you breathe in, silently say to yourself, "I am safe," and as you breathe out, say, "I release my fear," letting each exhalation soften and dissolve any tension or tightness you feel in your body. If fearful thoughts arise, simply observe them like passing clouds, acknowledging their presence without judgment and gently bringing your focus back to your breath. Imagine each inhale filling you with light and warmth, and each exhale carrying away all the heavy shadows that burden your heart. Continue this for at least 10 to 15 minutes each day, allowing your mind to gradually quiet down and your heart to open to a sense of spaciousness and tranquility. Over time, you may begin to notice a subtle shift. Your fears lose their sharp edges, your reactions soften, and a gentle confidence starts to bloom within you. Remember, it is not about eliminating fear entirely but learning to relate to it differently, to hold it with compassion rather than resistance, and to trust in your capacity to face whatever arises with grace and steadiness. As you deepen this practice, it becomes a sanctuary you can return to anytime life feels overwhelming, a place where you can reconnect with your inner strength and clarity. This meditation, combined with the teachings we have discussed, can become a powerful foundation for transforming your relationship with fear and awakening to the quiet joy that is always available within. As you continue your path, I encourage you to carry these lessons in your daily life, in your conversations, your work, your moments of solitude, and in every gentle breath. These teachings are not just concepts to be understood intellectually but living truths to be embodied and experienced, guiding you toward a life of greater freedom, compassion, and deep, unshakable peace. Thank you for walking this path with me today and allowing these words to enter your heart. Now, as we close, I warmly invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. What fears have you faced in your life, and which of these teachings resonates most deeply with you? Have you tried meditation before, or do you have a story of transformation that could inspire others on their journey? Your voice and your stories are precious and create a circle of wisdom and support for everyone in this community. Please take a moment to write your reflections, your challenges, your moments of courage, or simply your feelings after watching this video. Let us learn and grow together, supporting each other as we walk this path toward inner peace and spiritual growth. If you found value in this video, please consider liking it, subscribing to Mindful Pathway Media, and sharing it with friends or loved ones who may benefit. Together, we can build a community rooted in kindness, understanding, and the shared wish to live more mindfully and joyfully. Thank you from my heart for being here.